We have lectures in half an hour.
Oh, let me think. Professor Weber and his life-draining monologue? Or you, Mozart, and James Clerk Maxwell?
We can't. We'll get a warning.
Our project is too precious to waste time listening to those dullards. Come with me. We'll read Maxwell and think about the electromagnetic theory of light.
Oh, why, my dear little Johnny, how you enchant a lady. She's very pretty.
Yes. But can she soar and dance like our dark souls do?
Maxwell's equations contained an incredible prediction. They said you could never catch up to a beam of light. Even if you were traveling at 670 million miles an hour, you would still see light squiggle away from you at 670 million miles an hour.
Do you see how she stares at that wave?
Yes?
You see how for her it is static?
Yes?
She and the wave are traveling at the same speed. We see the wave moving through the water, but relative to her, it just sits there. So is light like that?
Common sense would say that if you caught up to a light beam, there would be a wave of light just sitting there. Maybe it would be shimmering, a bit of electricity and a bit of magnetism.
So, if she was traveling alongside the light wave, it wouldn't be moving. It would be static. But Maxwell says you can't have static light.
Maybe Maxwell is wrong. Maybe if you catch up to light, it is static, Albert, like a wave next to a boat.
Imagine if I was sitting still and holding a mirror to my face. And the light travels from my face to the mirror, and I see my face.
Yes?
However, if I and the mirror were traveling at the speed of light...
You're going at the same speed as the light leaving your face.
Exactly.
The light never reaches the mirror.
So would I be invisible?
That doesn't make sense.
Young Einstein was starting to realize that light was unlike any other kind of wave. Einstein was about to enter a surreal universe where energy, mass, and the speed of light intermingled in a way no one had ever suspected. But there was one last mathematical ingredient that Einstein would need: the everyday process of squaring. Long before the French Revolution, scientists were not sure how to quantify motion. Equations that explained how objects moved and collided were in their infancy. A crucial contribution to this subject would come from an unusual source. Meet the aristocratic 16-year-old daughter of one of King Louis XIV's courtiers, Émilie du Châtelet.
Quickly! Father's coming.
Émilie du Châtelet would have a huge effect on physics in her tragically short lifetime. Unheard of for a woman of her time, she would publish many scientific works, including a translation of Sir Isaac Newton's Principia, the greatest treatise on motion ever written. Du Châtelet's translation is still the standard text in France today.
Musa mihi causas memora.
Muse my memory code.
Oh, Muse, the causes and the crimes relate. What goddess was provoked, and whence her hate? For what offense the Queen of Heaven began to persecute so brave, so just a man?
Do not be cross with your sister, because she persecutes many a just man. Only the other night, Emily silenced the Duc de Luynes when she divided a ridiculously long number in her head in a matter of seconds. You should have seen the incredulity on their faces when they realized Emily was correct.
Was it my sister's astounding intelligence or her boundless beauty that made their mouths gape, I wonder?
Oh, well, yes. You have a point, monsieur.
Monsieur, I thank you for your kindness. I fear, however, that my wit is only a curiosity to others. If only my mind were permitted opportunity.
My dearest Emily, you are blessed with intellect and courage. Use them both, and the world will fall at your feet.
No.
In one sense, she is a woman utterly out of her true time and place. She's a philosopher, a scientist, a mathematician, a linguist. She demands a freedom that women didn't begin to enjoy until over 150 years later. A freedom to study science, to write about it, and to be published.
Du Châtelet married a general in the French army at age 19 and had 3 children. She ran a busy household, all the while pursuing her passion for science. She was 23 when she discovered advanced mathematics. She enthusiastically took lessons from one of the greatest mathematicians of the day, Pierre de Maupertuis. He was an expert on Newton, and she was his eager young student. It seems they had a brief affair. But then he set off on a polar expedition. Du Châtelet then fell passionately in love with Voltaire, France's greatest poet. A fierce critic of the king and the Catholic Church, Voltaire had been imprisoned twice and exiled to England, where he became enthralled by the ideas of Newton. Back in France, it wasn't long before he again insulted the king. Du Châtelet hid him in her country home.
The poor little creature is devoted to him.
Isolated far from Paris, Du Châtelet and Voltaire turned her chateau into a palace of learning and culture, complete with its own tiny theater, and all with the apparent blessing of her husband.
Who is the
There's a great deal of myth surrounding Du Châtelet and her love life, and most of it is very exaggerated. But her husband did accept Voltaire into his household, and he often went to Paris on behalf of Voltaire. He went to his publisher to plead Voltaire's case, to keep Voltaire out of jail. And it is also true that Emily du Châtelet did have several affairs of a fleeting nature.
Bravo, bravo!
She created an institution to rival that of France's Royal Academy of Sciences. Many of the great philosophers, poets, and scientists of the day visited.
Oh, monsieur, you are young. I hope that soon you will judge me for my own merits, or lack of them. But do not look upon me as an appendage to this great general, or that renowned scholar. I am in my own right a whole person, responsible to myself alone for all that I am, all that I say, all that I do.
Du Châtelet learned from the brilliant men around her, but she quickly developed ideas of her own. Much to the horror of her mentors, she even dared to suspect that there was a flaw in the great Sir Isaac Newton's thinking. Newton stated that the energy of an object, the force with which it collided with another object, could very simply be accounted for by its mass times its velocity.